Obviously, when we think of IoT companies, we'll talk about IT and OT and kind of the combination of those. But when we're thinking about IoT solutions being integrated into legacy IT environments, how does a company approach that? How do you plan for bringing IoT into your business? How do you get them to work together nicely? Like, what has to go into that?
With our companies, we always recommend, or to our customers, we always recommend to still start small and iterate and scale up by this. I think that's nothing new. Everybody's doing it, but some people try to skip this scaling up phase and directly go into this rollout. But it means, for example, that if you're having a project and want to monitor your energy net, your power supply net, you start with a little stations where you put sensors like 5 to 10 or up to 30 then. And then you scale up to 200 machines, for example, in industry or on the power net, power supply stations. And then you scale up for 2,000 and even bigger. So it's on the one hand, scaling up, not being too fast. There are so many tiny things that can go wrong, and unfortunately they will go wrong, and you need to handle these things. That's the one big thing, still thinking in iteration, scaling up. The other point is always about the integration, the interfaces you have on different software systems, the data you use. Are they in the same format? Is the ERP system able to work with the data coming from an IoT platform? And one thing we noticed there, the biggest challenge in there is that usually you can't change your existing IT landscape. These are sometimes systems 10, 15 years old. Maybe the developer is not available anymore, or it costs $1 million or even more to change the interfaces. So one approach we are following is that we try to transform the data into a format that the target system can work with it. So the existing systems don't have to adapt. We try to do as much as possible with our tools and with a project team together, that we try to adapt to the existing landscape and not try to force the other way around. Here's a tool and now you need to adapt everything else.
One of the things I was reading about kind of what you all do is try to really help companies get to a point where you can be more technology agnostic. What does that exactly mean?
With the technology agnostic approach, that was one thing that we noticed, that on the one hand, from the IoT perspective, there is not the one and only protocol anymore. It's not like we started with LoRaWAN. Everybody was talking about LoRaWAN. But there are use cases where you want to use narrowband IoT. For the same thing, you want to measure a temperature maybe, which is outside your LoRaWAN network, where you simply say it doesn't make sense to extend the network. Let's take narrowband IoT. Or other protocols you want to use, because for these use cases, it's simply the best technology. So you need to find an approach that you can implement all these different technologies, all the different protocols into one system and use them for one and the same use case, use different protocols. One example from industries, if you're doing asset tracking, you not only want to know where the location of your asset is, but maybe you also want to know the humidity or the temperature or acceleration or something. And for this, maybe you need different protocols and technology. So you want to have everything in one place. That's from the IoT perspective, where we simply say technology agnostic. We must be open to different technologies because the use case defines what technology to use. And same also to the IT landscape. There are so many protocols. You can't know them all, but if you are aware that in the future there will be many new protocols, you can position yourself and the back end, the software back end, develop it in a way that you can say, okay, we are open for the future. We don't know the future yet, but we can adapt to these upcoming protocols and technologies quickly. That's what we follow with the idea of technology agnostic. No matter what technology it is, we try to handle it. We can handle it in a way, and the use case defines what's the best technology to use.